Hey Discord friends, I'm gonna make another guide of how to deal with champions, but on this subject, we are gonna deal with unstoppables. Not all unstoppables, but unstoppable ogres. Unstoppable ogres usually is very dangerous to come by, even trying to fight one, because there's some certain things that you could possibly die to. So I'll show you examples right now. So here's an example of me fighting an unstop. Usually the Void Blast is extremely dangerous and it can always lead you to a one shot. I always recommend having cover and never trying to risk yourself trying to stun in the open, because after you try to stun him in the open, his couple of blasts might one shot you. Now, usually in hiding in cover and try to peek a corner, usually he just shoots where you're last seen. So here's an example. So I was trying to regain my health, and what he's gonna do is he's gonna shoot that same area where you were last seen. Do not peek the corner and try to get the stun off. Try to readjust your position and try to stun him in a different location. If you walk around this corner, you are gonna get one shot and possibly shredded. Now I'm gonna show a different clip of what he looks like when he's aggressive. So here's an example of engaging an unstoppable ogre and he's being aggressive. Like I said before, in the Overload Minotaur, he will lock onto you until he is stunned. If you don't stun him, he will come into your safety space, so he'll get you killed or your teammates. Now, usually just have an ability on standby and just be ready to take him out because he'll be aggressive again. Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to stun champions. If you already know how to stun champions, you can go to the advanced tips in this time step up here. But for now, I'm going to teach you how to stun a non-stop with the artifact mods right now. In the current artifacts, currently right now, in episode 1. So here's some examples. So here's the example of using the unstoppable artifact mod on a sidearm. Basically what you do is you have to aim down sights for 3 seconds and then fire. When you see the gun glow, it's ready for stunning. Usually the unstoppable artifact mods for weapons, it's okay, but it's just not my playstyle because I had to aim down sights for 3 seconds to get a stun off. Some scenarios you will die before you get stun off, but as I said in the last one, you have your abilities and you have many options to use your abilities and what abilities you can use. So here's some examples from a Titan. You have Shackle Nades, which is the greatest stun for unstops. And you also have Ignitions from a Consecration Slam. And you have Stasis Freeze, but usually I don't do freeze as much because sometimes it can be inconsistent when trying to shatter them. And last, it's going to be Arc Blind. There's not much options than the Mothkeeper's Wraths for hunters. But still, at any scenario that you don't have your abilities, you always have to rely on your weapons. Not only for the artifact stunning, but you have your unique weapons that can stun for you without the artifact. Here's another example. So here's a unique gun that can stun some champions. So for example, Chill Clip on this fusion. I wouldn't recommend using this just only for overloads because it takes 3 shots to freeze, and before you even freeze them, you have to do an additional shot to shatter them. And most of the times you'll die for the 3rd shot. Another example is Scorching Weapons. I'm only using Dragon's Breath as an example because it has the highest Scorch to get ignitions. But it is a good weapon to use against unstops because how many times they blow up from the Scorch, but it is a good stunning tool. Before we get into the tips and advanced tips, I gotta mention something. I forgot to tell you guys there was weapon intrinsic perks on exotic weapons. Here's an example. Some of the unique exotics that can stun champions is, in my opinion, not worth using at the moment. For an example, Bastion. It is a good weapon and it recently got buffed. And for Bastion, it can stun the champion in 1 burst. Devil's Ruin. Devil's Ruin is just, I don't see it often being used as much. In my opinion, it needs some sort of small buff or a catalyst to be a unique weapon for my exotic slot. So I missed a couple more intrinsic exotic guns that can stun champions. For example, like these right here. I didn't have enough time to get the footage and record it, so I only just give out a couple examples in the clips earlier. Alright, anyways, back on topic. Now it's time for the tips and advanced tips for fighting against unstops. Just to be aware, there's not much tips to help you win fights, but more to defend yourself and your team. So here's some clips and examples. The only tip I can give you that's not an advantage is to save your team if you kind of screw up by have to reload your weapon or something. If he's on your way right now towards you guys, just be ready to aim down your sights around the corner where he's about to come around and then fire. And then nuke the champion before he gets unstunned. So this is not an advanced tip, but this is like, you're gonna have to watch out for this certain bug. So here's an example. So say if you were about to kill an unstop and you decided to go for a finisher. For some reason, when the champion is unstunned and you try to go for a finisher, he, in a frame of a second right here, he will stomp you in mid finisher for some reason, and it possibly might kill you, so be on the lookout for this bug. The last tip I can give you guys, and it goes to all champions. So when you stun a champion, you want to realize something. When can I stun him again? But usually people always look at the bottom left corner when he's unstunned, but for me, it's simple. You just have to look at him. So take a look at his horns right here. You know, see how it's glowing white and then it glows dark? That darkness indicator indicates that he is able to stun again. So yeah, now you know how to fight unstoppable ogre champions. It's not much help for tips because ogres are very dangerous, and the way I taught you is that's basically how I fight them. Don't stay in the open, stay in cover. If he comes at you, just take cover and aim down sights around a corner when he comes around the corner. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess my next project might be a top 10 or top 5, or that I do barrier champions next. And I think I know what specific barrier champion. That might be a struggle to you guys. But I hope this guide helps you out, so I'll see you guys around. Goodbye.